Are you ready to have a pickle that you don't have to can, but can just put the brine on and have ready in a couple days from the fridge? That is a quick pickle, and that's what these bread and butter quick pickles are all about. Let's make some. So when it comes to making, now they're called quick pickles, Quickles even, what I call a refrigerator pickle. So growing up, grandma always made fridge pickles, which is really just a quickle or a quick pickle, meaning it's not one that we're gonna can and make shelf stable. It goes together with a higher ratio of vinegar to water because it goes quicker. It pickles them even quicker and brings on that brininess that you want. So what we're gonna do is make the brine first, get the cucumbers ready. It's really a simple process. And this is great to use if you happen just to have an onslaught of cucumbers or if you just wanna pickle something. So first we're gonna put in our water. So when you're making any type of pickle or anything that's gonna have a brine, there's a ratio of water to vinegar. Now I am using apple cider vinegar. I like the flavor it imparts for more of a bread and butter style like we're gonna do. So we're putting in equal parts of the vinegar and the water. So when we come to canning for shelf stable things like in a water bath, pressure canner, you always wanna make sure you use 5% vinegar, which almost all kitchen use vinegar is. Same with this, I wanna make sure I have 5%, which apple cider vinegar almost always is. So I have equal parts in there, which is a pretty high ratio of vinegar, but that's what you need for a quick pickle to make sure that acidity gets into and pickles the cucumbers. So next what we wanna do and have super important is salt. Now I'm using kosher salt, just like I would if I was cooking or baking, meaning I have to use slightly more of it than if I use a pickling salt. Pickling salt is super important if you're gonna ferment something or you're gonna pickle and can something. So I don't have it out for this, I'm just gonna use my kosher salt. And kosher salt is a little bit bigger pieces, so it takes a little bit more. And then some sugar. So since these are bread and butter style, sugar is really important. Now this does not have the copious amounts that some older recipes do for bread and butter, but you still need the sugar and it needs that sweetness to balance out everything we're putting in. Next comes the important bread and butter flavor. Where do you get bread and butter from? There's no bread and there's no butter in them, but this is what a lot of times people would eat with bread and butter. That's why they're called that. So we have turmeric, super iconic when it comes to a pickle. Beautiful color, but also extremely important flavor. A little bit of red pepper flake, some cloves. Do not knock the cloves. Do not think they're only for baking. These are whole cloves that are gonna flavor this and they're super important. Mustard seed, whole, and a little bit of celery seed. This mixture to me is a classic bread and butter pickle. I have a bread and butter pickle on my website that is just for canning, to actually can and put in your basement. This is pretty much the same, except it's quick. So now we're just gonna stir that together. We're kind of just dissolving the sugar in there, the salt in there, and now we're gonna take it over and we're gonna heat this up so it fully dissolves everything and just incorporates all the flavors. So while the brine is gonna come to a simmer, and then I'm gonna let it come and just actually simmer for a while, that just makes sure everything is getting flavored and all that sugar and salt's getting dissolved, we can get ready the cucumbers. Now, cucumbers, you can use whatever you can find. You can actually use other vegetables if you want to. I'm gonna use the ones that you find in your grocery store just because I know most people will be able to find these. So we have the English style or hothouse. They're usually wrapped in plastic because they're very thin skinned. And then these small, the mini ones, just because, again, they're easy ones to find. You can spear them, you can slice them, and you can use whatever jars you have on hand. We're not canning these, so you don't have to worry about having lids and rings, but you want something that's tight and air sealed. So I'm gonna use some jars that have nice seals on them, whatever size you want, and this is when you can kind of just start slicing them up. Now, the thing with the quick pickle is, if you are scared of canning, but you wanna maybe just start getting in a little bit to preserving, do a quick pickle. This is the easiest way, and this is what my grandma even, I think, first had me do. And this is what we would often do growing up with all the ones towards the end of the season. We've made all of our pickles, canned them, they're in the basement, we don't want any more. Grandma was like the pickle queen. And this is what you would do then with the leftovers ones. She couldn't handle them going to waste, so she would make fridge pickles, quick pickles. So for these, I'm just gonna start putting them in. And now when it comes to canning, you get more worried about how they're packed. That's the great thing about quick pickles and why it's a great thing to start with. You don't have to worry as much. You just wanna start putting them in and just filling them up. And that's the beauty of this. And I designed this recipe so it was just a couple jars. That way, you know what, if you're in an apartment, if you're in somewhere you just have a fridge, because these need to go in the fridge, they're not gonna be shelf stable, then you don't have to worry about being inundated with jars and jars of pickles. A couple jars can go in. So I thought the reason I like these, I cut off the ends of them, just because sometimes the ends is where you can have a little bit of bitterness sometimes. And so I always wanna make sure to cut any of that off. But what I like about these is they're very easy to cut into a spear more. So I just slice them up, and then what I'm checking and making sure of is Look how beautiful they're gonna fit in there. So you can play around, see what you have maybe at a farmer's market, see what's available to you, because that's the whole point of the season. Using what you have, finding it when it's in season, and this is just a quick way to preserve it. It's a form of preservation, but there's many ways, and this is one that I think anyone can get into. So I'm gonna keep slicing these up. I'm gonna let that simmer for a little bit, then we'll get ready to make a pickle. So it's been simmering like this for, a few minutes just to make sure everything's dissolved. It smells like pickles. This smell to me is my grandma's house. Going in, no matter what time of year, you still got a faint smell of this just because she made so many pickles. She loved pickles. Grandma Conrad loved them. So what we're gonna do now, you can see what I do is I put a little, if I do a big amount, I get a bigger sheet pan, but a small pan with a little bit of a rack just to catch the drips. So even if you have a counter that you don't think stains, turmeric is something that can stain, I feel like, anything. So I'm always gonna be extra cautious and make sure I have something just to safeguard that. I think when you're canning, it's just good. It's a safe practice. So now what we're gonna do is slowly ladle this on. I should have a funnel, but you know what? Sometimes we live on the edge. Do it slowly, because when you pack a jar, at first it can take it a little bit to kind of get around all of them. And we're putting it on hot because I want it to really have that power in the beginning. And it never takes as much brine as you think, because look at all the displaced brine that we're filling up. So we're gonna fill it up till it just about covers them, which I always get it a little tight, but then we'll put a lid on that will kind of weight them down. And then I'll also fill up the spears. You just wanna make sure pretty much everything is covered with the brine. That's gonna make sure everything pickles evenly. So they push up slightly usually because of the liquid, but when you put your lid on, make sure they're somewhat covered as well as they can be. And then you can put them in the fridge. So with a quick pickle, as opposed to waiting, I always say at least 2 weeks when I do something canned, a quick pickle, I think they're best after 48 hours. You could have them after 24, but I think 48 hours is when the flavor really starts developing. But in the fridge, they'll store up to 2 months or more because they are pickled, have a high ratio of vinegar, makes them store for a long time. So I have a few that I've done a while ago that I thought, you might as well still taste them. And so these are just a couple days ago, but you can see they really take on the color, start looking more just like a normal pickle you're used to, and this will develop deeper and deeper as they sit. Get a crunch. Love the crunch. And it has a bread and butter flavor. What more could you want in a pickle? So these are great on hamburgers during the summer. These are great on sandwiches. Personally, I just like pickles. So I will open up a jar and just eat pickles, and these are great for that too. They're kind of just like that all-purpose pickle. And this is a great way to do them quickly. So if you're scared of canning, do this pickle. If you just want to get into preserving a little bit and not sure what you're gonna be excited about, try a quick pickle. If you're not sure about cucumbers, try a different vegetable that you might like better. It will all work. It's all the kind of fun that you can have of trying to extend the season a little bit. In a few months, maybe when summer's over, you can still be having a pickle and enjoy the flavor. That's the best part. So what I hope you do with this, make pickles. Share the video around because of course it helps me, but it helps everyone else see this is doable and this is easy. If I can do it, anybody can do it. And I think the world is a better place when we have pickles. So I think we just all need to have pickles. So share it, enjoy it, check my website, wiseguy.com for all my recipes, including this quick pickle. Until next time, have something crunchy like a pickle.